How do you transform waste to gold? My purpose project is titled Transforming the Environment, Transforming Lives. My purpose project was hosted in a peasant farming community in the eastern part of Ghana called Esikabu. I went into the community to teach the women and the youth there how to transform the waste they create in their community into beautiful jewelry and baskets and artifacts for sale. Before I went to start the project, the people in the community were familiar with only one livelihood, that is farming, transforming and making cassava dough out of the cassava they produced. But now they have been empowered with a second skill, that is making with their hands jewelry and other artifacts for sale. This has created a lot of excitement and hope, especially for the youth, as they know that they can make something out of them. They can make something for themselves that they once didn't know.
Welcome. That was a message from our beautiful, amazing co-sponsors at Purpose Earth, and welcome everybody to this evening plenary on day 5. My goodness, we are getting through the World Unity Week. We're past halfway. We're on day 5 of the 99 Days of Peace through Unity. And can you feel it? Can you feel something? Something is in the air. Something is in the air. And we can feel it with all these amazing events. We had an incredible yoga day yesterday. I know Sister Jenna, you and our friends at Unify had an incredible program here at World Unity Week. There's been so much beautiful sharing and expressions and learning and community and coming together. There is something in the air. And it's my real honor to be sitting down with 3 amazing guests today in Auntie Patricia Anne Davis, Sister Dr. Jenna, and A-Marie. If we can get A-Marie back up here, Kaylin, that would be great. And A-Marie, who is joining us as well to talk about restoring right relationship with air. A-Marie B. Thomas Brown. And so what an honor to be with the 3 of you. Welcome back to World Unity Week, Auntie Patricia and Sister Dr. Jenna and A-Marie.
Thank you, Ben, and thank you for hanging in there at least 5 days, only 94 more days to go.
That's right, only 94 more days to go. I tell myself every day where it's one more day down the track. It's a lot of fun, it's a lot of joy. It's incredible what's happening, and it is super exciting. We're talking about, we've had the foundations of life. We do have each day we're devoting to a foundation of life. We started with earth, and then water, and then fire, which was the solstice yesterday. And now we're on day 5, which is the 4th foundation of life, which is air. And these are inspired by eco-governance. And our friends, Dr. Shelley Ostroff and Jan Golding, who are the stewards of eco-governance, is really finding its place and its space here in the field of World Unity Week. But I'm really interested in air, because in a way, earth, water, fire are a bit more tangible. They're a bit more obvious in a sense as to their aspects of foundation of life. But air is a little more mysterious to me, at least. And so I'm really excited to have this incredible panel to talk about how do we restore a right relationship to this foundation of life that is air. So Auntie Patricia Anne Davis, I'm going to start with you for opening comments. If you can begin today, the foundation of life of air, and how do we restore right relationship to it?
Thank you, Ben, and thank you, Dr. Jenna, and thank you, Marie. First, I will begin with the context, which means the container of a natural order. These are the laws that govern all of us equally. We may not be aware of that. However, when we say right relationship what do we actually mean when in fact that we are in the process of breathing? The right relationship with the foundation of air begins with recognizing that air is one of the four sacred elements. This may be somewhat of a small review. However, I'm speaking from an Indigenous lens through ceremonial language, which is esoteric, it's spiritual language. And ceremony means to make that correction in which healing can take place beyond coping. 12% is earth, and that's our physical body. 72% is water, it's our emotive element. And we must empty the emotions, the maladaptive emotions, in order to experience the authentic feelings. 4% is fire, and that's our temperature. 6% is air. It is the perfect love and peace of Creator's holy breath. And the name we call this concept that I'm defining and describing in English is the yin, the perfect love and peace of Creator's holy breath. And I tell young people that life is simple. It is not complex. It is not confusing. Life is not all take. Life is not all give. It's like the rhythmic in-breath and out-breath. The yin is the air, is life itself. And we're moving around and we're making a sound with it. There's a vibration that's interconnected to the natural order. And all the while, we're existing also within the environmental elements of the earth. Nahasan Hima, our sacred Mother Earth, our home, our habitat, our temple, our sanctuary. And then water, Twa Be'ina, the water of life, Twa Azet, the medicinal healing and alchemy of cleansing, of purification, of enlivening and blessing for procreation and regeneration. Fire is Hajine, the origin of the purpose of fire, Ina, the fire of life, that is our temperature within us. Air, the yin, the perfect love and peace of the Creator's holy breath. So we can also observe that in nature there's oceans and lakes and rivers and the female rain and the male rain. In nature, it is the radiant sun, the electrical energy, also in our world. The fire by friction, which is in physical form in the fireplace, in the hearth of our homes. Now, how can we talk about air in such a way that we acknowledge and have gratitude for life itself, realizing that the Creator's holy breath is in the body or out of the body, that we're coming clothed in the other elements, and when we leave, we return to that circle of air. That's the meaning of how I'm describing the word the yin as the Creator's holy breath. So my main message here is a reminder for us, a reminder for all of us to be cognizant, to recognize that our intention, first, we must understand that there's only two intentions in which we're going to use the sound and the vibration with our sacred holy words. There is win-lose and nobody wins. Therefore, it is destructive and death-producing decisions for those outcomes. Then there is win-win, constructive and life-affirming decisions for those outcomes. And so what is life-affirming is this in-breath and out-breath rhythmically. That means that not holding our breath or not breathing too fast or too slow. And what happens is all the other physical, emotive, the mental, the intellect, everything quiets down, everything becomes peaceful within us and therefore around us. The important teaching from Indigenous teaching is that the vibrations of the sounds we speak, our very words and our language that we use, we have the power to destroy, we have the power to heal. But what does healing really mean? It is not coping, it's not a temporary coping mechanism or process. Correction is our intention, and that intention then we give meaning through our voice, through our words, through our language. And healing will always take place in a meditative state, so that we must learn first to empty. And empty means without judgment, without condemnation, and without punishment. So when someone is emptying, they're speaking their words, their tears. Emptying is talking, crying, dancing, singing, even sweating and throwing up with herbs and so on to unlock the crystallized thought forms that we stuff in our body, and it becomes disease and sickness that has to be released from the body. And so our intention is first, and then the emptying in a safe and supportive environment, which I said there can be no judgment, no punishment, and no condemnation, because what humanity has done is misqualify spiritual energy. Misqualify spiritual energy, then there's a misunderstanding, and then there's a miscreation, and the mistakes then must be cleansed, purified. They must be reframed into the authentic feelings of joy and love and peace. And we certainly want to ensure that we're giving the legacy of life to the next generation by teaching them to design these types of safe and supportive environments. We're not to use our sacred sound vibrations to dehumanize and to devalue ourselves and others. And we do that by enemy creation. And in our tribal Jenna language, the holy people's sacred language, we're calling this place that we exist Hojo. That means that we're all interconnected, we're all interrelated. And in that greeting, using the vibration and the sounds, the ya is everything that's good, beautiful, and true for women and children and families and communities and governing systems. Governing systems, that means that the leaders also would ensure that there's no hunger, poverty, sickness, and disease, and premature death that's caused by intention that then is spoken outwardly and that harm others. So humaneness is what comes out of our speech. We're humane beings. So let us use our voice, let us use the sound and the words that we choose accordingly. I said, all healing takes place in a meditative state. And what does what does it take? I'm going to finish with the how to. How can we unite as humanity to take these teachings forward? And I'm going to just simply describe an esoteric meditation. And that is this is to practice the right use of sound and speech and voice and language and words. To sit straight with the spine straight, that's proper posture, and to hold the hands accordingly, and put them over the solar plexus. And what that does is it seals the solar plexus and seals the aura in which the person is only aware of their own sacred self, their sacred self intellect. And if we want to use the word soul, that we're only in connection with our own soul, whereby then we can breathe in our nose the pure air and count 1, and breathe out the toxins out of our body at the count of 2. So the key is the counting and the rhythmic. In breath 1, out breath 2. And rhythmic, not too fast, not too slow. The counting then eventually stops the chatter, all the chatter that the brain goes through, and eventually that chatter will stop. If a person gives 20 to 30 minutes minimum on a daily basis to just sit and clear one's aura and bring the sacred breath within the body to cleanse and purify and to put ourselves in a meditative state in which we can heal ourselves, and we can also direct our intention into the etheric network, into the web of life, and we call that Ina. So not only is there earth, water, fire, and air, my understanding is our word for Ina is similar to the word Akash, what holds us, the web of life, the etheric network that holds us all together. And so I hope that I have inspired you and motivate you to a commitment to understand your own sacred breath is not, I'm saying your own, but that we're using is the sacred holy breath of Creator's breath. It's not our breath. And so let's use it. It's called a voice of silence, this place where this air and breathing rhythmically will take a person inside and experience this hojo, the all-encompassing concept of holiness and wholeness. And then we will activate our whole brain thinking, our conscience, our moral reasoning, our intuition, our creative imagination, and we will reframe this for its appropriate function. And we will no longer use what I call criminal mind. The criminal mind is using our thinking for what it is not for. And so and what it is not for is to perpetuate polarizing us into adversary conflict. And we're going forward into unity through peace, and using the sacred power of our voice and the vibration to connect to all of the unifying principles upon the earth and with humanity collectively for the good of humanity and to serve in the world. Thank you, my spiritual family and relatives.
Oh, thank you, Patricia Anne Davis. What an incredible, masterful lesson. I think everybody can tell that Patricia is an educator. Let me just say a little bit about Patricia Anne Davis as we go forward. Patricia Anne Davis is an Indigenous elder of the Choctaw and Diné Navajo lineage, currently on the International Council of First Nations, Commissioner of Ancient Knowledge and Languages as a speaker member, NGO representative on the World Yoga Community to the United Nations, an international educator, is initiated, trained and experienced in facilitating her authentic Indigenous ceremonial change process that Patricia designed for wellness restoration. It's cross-cultural, intergenerational, inclusive, universal, in practical application, and can be translated into any language. Patricia is a whole systems designer specializing in peacemaking leadership. We are really blessed and honored to have you with us, and thank you for sharing that masterful lesson on air and restoring right relationship to air. Let me bring in from one ambassador of the 99 Days of Peace through Unity to another beloved ambassador, the one and only Sister Dr. Jenna. And let me just tell you a little bit about Dr. Jenna. Sister Dr. Jenna is acclaimed, trusted spiritual mentor committed to bridging divides in societies and building relationships between global influences. And she's very, very good at that. I can tell you, she's amazing. She's the founder and director of the Brahma Kumaris Meditation Museum, located in the metropolitan Washington, D.C. area, and the host of the popular America Meditating Radio Show. Sister Dr. Jenna is a recipient of the President's Lifetime National Community Service Award. She's a member of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle and was selected by Empower a Billion Women in 2020 as one of 100 most influential leaders on the planet in 2015. What an honor to have you with us, Sister Jenna.
Thank you, Ben. Om Shanti, everyone. Namaste. Thank you, Auntie Patricia. Is that appropriate? Is that appropriate to call you? But it was so beautiful. And there's nothing more I love than my elders who continue to enlighten me with the path that they've lived and continue to live. It's something that I would like to play back over and over again tonight, because the words that you spoke had such depth and such meaning that sometimes you really want to go back and you want to nurture it again. So thanks to everyone out there who has taken the time to participate in our World Unity Week. And as the acting ambassador of this tenure, I am so honored to actually be a part of something that is so noble and so pure. It's so hard to find something that's genuine and real without too much manipulation or too much intimidation. It just is. It just is. And for Ben and the entire team to be going through the next 95 days, I can only imagine the amount of air, energy, breath, and life that will be shared between Ben and the team and everyone else that we'll be meeting along the way for the next few days. Imagine we're going to be ending this around International Day of Peace time period. How much energy would we have put in? How much breath would we have contributed? I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to start our sharing, and I'm not one that wants to talk too much, but for all of you that are on Zoom now, and for all of you who are watching on any social media channel, can I just invite you to hold a minute of silence? And in the minute of silence, I'd like you to take a deep breath, and I will count with my hands. How long are you able to hold your breath? Just start now. Take a deep breath. Don't exhale. Each breath, each moment seems to be so much more meaningful. And as you try to hold your breath longer, you start to hold on to life, feeling like it's more important to breathe and to exist and to live rather than not to. Were you able to hold it? 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 25, 30, 50, 60. Just imagine in 1 second you can lose your life, and in 1 second you can gain life. something that has fascinated me. In Indian mythology, there's a saying, there's a word called kal, and it's that when you are born, the moment you're born, it has also dictated that exact second and moment you will depart from playing that role in your life. All the 5 elements are so significant, and all these 5 elements have designed our bodies. And even though we might not be focusing on the 6th element, which is the element of light, today we look at the element of air, breath, air, air. You can't see it in a room, but you can sure feel it if you don't have it. And it brings me to, have us contemplate on some of the things we just can't see, but we take it for granted, like the smile of a person's face in the office that you passed by all the time and took them for granted. Maybe you have missed that person who was always there for you, but because they were always there for you, you took them for granted. The air is always there. Their smile, their support, their love, their respect, their kindness. Have you ever had one of those relationships where the other person knows what you're doing is not good, but they won't point it out? They'll just keep giving you good wishes and pure feelings with the intent and the feeling you come to your own realization and change your ways. You might not see air, but you know you need it. Because you know without air you can't exist. Now, in my teachings of Raj Yoga and the Brahma Kumaris, we have had conversation with some of the elders known as the dadis, who all are, they've mostly passed now. They were all like 103, 100, 97, 98. They stay on for a long time. And one day we were talking about the elements. And we were looking at fire and how can we make fire work in our favor? What's the best way to serve the element of fire? And I remember Daddy saying, be pure. And I said, well, Daddy, what makes fire be out of control? Bushfires, just natural fires that emerge everywhere. She says the fire of lust. The more lust there is in the energy of people's minds and personality, the more the fire gets erratic. I said, really? And what about anger, Daddy? Well, anger is the earth. And when it shakes and it rumbles, it is telling you that it's angry. And the more angry we become, the more the earth shakes. There are earthquakes, there are things that are crumbling all the time. And I asked, well, what about water? And she said, well, because blood flows through the body and blood lines create attachment. Just the greater your attachment, the more there'll be floods, tsunamis, things that will come to show you that you are going over the law of balance. And I said, wow. And then what about ether? She says, that one's a hard one because that flies in and flies out, and it depends on the almighty ego. That the more the ego is, the more in the ethers, things will happen like nuclear explosions. Things will just emerge out of nowhere because it's being fed by the energy of ego within the personality. And of course, today we're talking about air. What about air, Daddy? She says, air is greed. There's a tornado or hurricane, it comes and it sweeps everything up in a moment. You are in the kitchen and you smell a nicely baked chocolate cake. You would like to eat all of that cake up in a second. I said, Daddy, how do we balance all of this? I don't want fire to get me. I don't want to be in an earthquake. Daddy, I don't want a tsunami to take the life for me or even my brothers and sisters. What do we do to neutralize the imbalance of the elements that we've created because we've not been responsible? We're not responsible for taking care of our treasures, our gifts. The greatest treasure and gift is thought and the quality of thought that we can have. So let me share with you what Daddy said. To reduce fires, practice purity. To reduce and end earthquakes, be peaceful. To transform the energy of the attachment, let there be more love in your relationships. And to change the imbalance of what can happen with the ethers, gases, poisonous things in the air, the carbon monoxide, the pollution that is killing us. With that, the ether, gain truth and wisdom in your character. And today, air. Instead of being greedy, have the awareness, I have enough. That joy is my religion. And that contentment is my path. And when I'm contented, I don't need to compete with anyone. I mean, look at our world today. We do things because we see somebody else seems to have it better than me. And if somebody has it worse than me, then I become so unhappy and so sad for them. And I wish I could help them, but I really don't. I don't have enough resources. But I might share that I want to. But with our vibrations of thoughts and good wishes and pure feelings, you don't think you can't help humanity? I know with all of my heart that if I maintain a pattern of thinking where I'm a well-wisher for people, the elements have to take care of me. If I can transform limited belief systems into my natural, innate, true sense of self, purity, peace, love, truth, and joy, these elements will bow to us. And they will say, thank you. For thousands of years, all we've noticed is that you've just taken and taken, and you've taken, and you've taken, and you didn't think about us. And in any relationship that you take more than you give, it eventually gets dismantled. It breaks down. It says, I just don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to give. I've given you sun, air, heat, water. I've given you everything. And somehow you're just not able to understand. Give me back something. So if I breathe the air that seems to be free, and then I smoke cigarettes and I make combustive things and I burn things and I make a mess of my environment and I pretend it'll be okay. And the air feels so polluted over a long period of time. Look at what happens in developing countries with the pollution in the atmosphere. You can't even breathe a fresh breath of air anymore because the funds and the monies and the corporate greed, the greed for money to only be wasted to fulfill your desires, which are so petty, then everyone suffers as a result of that. So our World Unity Week for this particular time is turning the attention to you and to everyone around you. Ask yourself, what are you giving back in your relationship with air? What are your good wishes, your pure feelings? What are some of the ways that you're keeping your environment clean and unpolluted? How many mornings are you going to decide to wake up and say, I have enough, I'm contented. I was speaking to a young lady the other day and she wasn't very happy with her husband. And she says, sister, I don't even like my kids. I don't like my husband. I don't like my mother. And I said, it's so funny. Your husband is amazing. You've got the best kids. He's not abusing you. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He provides completely for your family. He makes sure you have everything that you would ever desire. She had never even fed that thought. the elements feel the same way. I've given you everything, and all I'm asking you to do is to have the thought to care for me. And even our human relationships, we take so much from them that sometimes in our marriages, with our friendships, with our jobs, it's like I don't know what else to give. And so I'm turning the attention to you. What can you give back to the elements? How can you breathe life into your human relationships? How can you breathe life into your health and well-being? How can you breathe life in for the future? What are your thoughts? How will you nurture the future? Think your way through this. Keep your environments clean and pure and happy, so that the elements in the nature will serve you openly. If you take too much from a relationship, they feel a compulsion to give you back something. It shouldn't be like that. If there's an equal share and equal respect, then of course the relationship will honor you. So I leave that with you to contemplate on and to breathe in some good feelings and good wishes, and to breathe out thoughts of well-being. Thank you all so much.
Oh my goodness, what a breath of fresh air. Sister Jenna just bringing in that cleanliness and the holiness, building upon what Patricia Anne Davis had begun. We are richly, richly blessed to have such wisdom to draw upon and to inhale and to take inspiration from, of course, which is another root for air. So let us bring in our third distinguished panelist. So I want to introduce here A-Marie. And A-Marie, I want to give you a full name here, which is A-Marie B. Thomas Brown. And I'm going to just read a little bit about A-Marie, the artist, writer, healer, a doula, and a friend. Serves the community through breath work, Reiki, numerology, and womb regression. Grandmother of 5, mother to 1, and partner to many. Authored The Reformation of a Nation, the United States of Remembrance in 2012. What a beautiful title. And A-Marie facilitates sessions around inner remembrance. She hosts a private Facebook group called Breathing with A-Marie that brings people together from all around the world, Costa Rica, Canada, England, and the United States. A-Marie, welcome to World Unity Week. It's wonderful to have you with us, and we'd love to hear your reflections on restoring right relationship to air and anything you want to build upon from Sister Jenna and from Patricia Anne Davis.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you all. It's an honor and a privilege to be here and listening at the two beautiful reflections ahead of me. It puts me in a state of quiet reflection and humility. And it begs the question, what can I offer? How can I add to what has already been said? And so I just want to share from my heart, how can we, as a collective, restore right relationship to air? We are cutting down trees and erecting poles for our 5D towers. We understand that we must move with the times. How do we do this? Keeping nature in mind. How do we do this? How do we restore right relationship with air? How do we return to rest? How do we find our original state? Climate change, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, air pollutants, you name it, it's there. It seems almost impossible to find a solution. How do we get there? I have found in my journey, in traveling to different countries, being with different peoples, that there is a common thread through humanity that keeps me hopeful, that keeps me optimistic, that in the midst of seeming turmoil and despair, there is a common thread of renewal and restoration that is always present. As I look at what we have created, what we have done to this planet, to our mother, as I watch this generation that is coming in the faces and experiences of my own 5 grandchildren, there's hope. Because I see that they're coming in with that 6th sense magnified that Dr. Jenna spoke to. And so what looks like impossible, what looks like a problem is being set up for the answer. How can I help to bridge what is with what will be? How do I leave a legacy and at the same time guide it? So my heart today is for the generation to come that is, and working with them in standing in what they already are. See, I am of the mind that we have simply forgot. We have simply forgotten where we have come from. And that when we return to breath, that there is something that happens within our total being that reminds us of the greatness that we are, in spite of the dismal circumstances, and that there is an arising that is happening even as we speak. So I'm encouraged. And how can we bridge this gap? Well, it's a remembrance for me. Thus, the Reformation of a Nation, the United States of Remembrance. That book opens with, that book was published in 2012. And when it was published, I knew that it needed to lay dormant for a season. That season turned out to be 10 years. When the book was written, the publisher said to me, "Hey, Marie, you're going to need an opener. This is just too heavy to just dive right in." And so I want to share what that opener was, because it's significant to where we are today in relationship to F, into air and breath. And it opens like this. As the United States of America stands on the cusp of its re-election of President Barack Obama to a second term, and Israel prepares to go to war, the nation of every soul stands predisposed to come to its pandemic end. An end that was established long before our humble beginnings in the womb of humanity. And the work that I am here to do is to bring us into remembrance, to breathe the breath of remembrance in concert with all that is. Air without, we are not. We can go 3 days without water. But as Dr. Jenna just modeled, barely 3 minutes without air. We cannot go without air. So what calls to us to rise and to restore is found in the remembrance. I know this to be true in my work of 12 years, that when we return to right relationship within ourselves, we are restored to that right relationship with the elements and Mother Earth. Yes, this is a work that takes place on all levels, but every level is necessary. And I remember when I was preparing to run a half marathon, and I asked the trainer, how can I prepare myself for this journey? And the trainer said to me, "Hey, Marie, I can't tell you how to prepare, how to prepare. But I can tell you that if you take 1 mile 26 times, it's a lot more doable." So as I sit here before you and I listen to the conversation and I listen to all the discussions and the concerns that we have as a nation, as a country, as a globe on this planet, I understand that it is necessary for us to do this one breath at a time, one person at a time. Thank you.
Beautiful, Anne-Marie. Beautiful. What a treat to have the three of you breathing life into this conversation. World Unity Week on this day 5, this day of air. I want to come around for closing comments as we get ready for our following plenary, which is a very important one, also very important on healing the divide and the gun issue in the United States. We want to invite you to stay here for Dr. Marty K. Casey for that coming up very soon. We want to close. I do have each of these foundations of life. There was a little prayer given by Jyoti Ma. So I just want to share that for today, and then we'll come to our three distinguished panelists for the closing remarks. So let's just hear. This is anchoring in the sacred lands, the sacred territories in relationship to this foundation of life of air.
Calling upon you, holy ones, to listen to our prayer today. For we are here in gratitude for this breath of life that's flowing through all of us and through this creation and has since its original days. Mother Earth is calling on all of us to reactivate, restore, regenerate her sacred territory so she too can breathe more freely. Let it be so, let it be so, let it be so.
Beautiful. So just coming back to Patricia Anne Davis, Sister Dr. Jenna, and Anne-Marie for 1 or 2 minute closings. It's been such a purifying space here. It's been such a holy space of the holy breath as you began, Patricia, to open us up. We are just in awe of the beauty and the breath that is here. So just your closing reflections, Patricia Anne Davis.
Yes, I would like to remind all of us that there's a reason why we have the heart and the lungs on both sides. And I mentioned the heart is Inapakot, which is our fire of life, and the lungs are Nilchetian. So you all spoke about the word, I heard inspiration. So there you have the fire and the air and those two elements. And may we go forward with inspiring humanity and ourselves, our relatives, our friends, all of those that we love, to use this breath in a sacred way, because it is a sacred breath. And our words are to create, co-create. That means with Creator, with the natural law that governs us, and then with our sacred self, and with each other, each person's sacred self. And that's what I understand and call unity, and that we call this all-encompassing holiness and wholeness. Hojo Nahaskli. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sister Jenna.
I think there's a reason why the soul entered the body. And I think if we all recognize that the soul comes with a predestined part to play, and if we were to stop wasting the valuable time of getting caught up in other people's issues and games, that we can focus on God's light and let God's light breathe through us, we'll be able to identify maybe the higher purpose of why we're here, and breathe in the real kind of life that we really all wish to live. So I just recommend and invite everyone to value the energy of the soul that's behind your eyes, that's giving you breath, and to continue to connect to God, the Supreme Light, so that He is your connection to your breath at a higher level. Whether you're in the body or out the body, you will always exist. So let us just exist with peace and love. That's my wish for my life, and it's my wish for yours too.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Sister Dr. Jenna. Marie.
May we return to rest. May we find our breath as we unify in the peace that is. All things will be made plain in their time and in their season. Namaste.
Thank you, distinguished panelists, for this beautiful, beautiful air that has been created and has been breathed and shared here today, tonight. Deep, deep gratitude to you, Auntie Patricia Anne Davis. I know a number of people, again, are wanting the recording, like Sister Jenna said, to go back and just slowly go through all of the wisdom that you prepared and that you shared. Sister Dr. Jenna, thank you. I know how much in demand you are, and we're really grateful for you being with us. And we're excited that you will be giving the World Unity Week graduation address. Last year, of course, Jean Houston gave an amazing invocation on our last day. And this day, it won't be a closing ceremony. It will be a continuation ceremony as we go forward into the 99 days of peace through unity, for which you and Patricia Anne Davis are beloved ambassadors. And Marie, thank you, sister, for being with us and sharing your words of life and wisdom, and your beautiful story there in the book that is whose time has come, and remembrance. Thank you, dear friends, on this panel plenary on air, and please do stay with us for the following program, Healing the Divide.